When you come to Canada, you bring your faith, your tradition, your language, your story. You leave behind your animosities. Now, we haven't always lived up to all of that pact. 1939, the MS St. Louis, carrying 907 Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi Germany, sailed up the Atlantic coast seeking refuge. Cuba turned them away. The United States turned them away. In Canada, we looked away too. The ship returned to Europe. Hundreds of those passengers were murdered in the Holocaust. The St. Louis is the face of the Canadian promise denied. And Prime Minister Trudeau rightly apologized for it in 2018. The covenant we must renew today is in part the covenant we failed to honor then. And what does this moment require? It requires that we do not transpose foreign conflicts onto each other. It requires all of us as Canadians to stand up and protect our fellow citizens. It requires all of us to raise our voices in disgust and defiance when we see the ugly face of anti-Semitism. It requires that no Canadian child goes to school being seen as a representative of any foreign state.
That's part of what Mark Carney had to say yesterday in Toronto at a Toronto synagogue late yesterday afternoon. Carney says the country is failing Jewish Canadians. Let's head over to Miss Melissa Lantsman, Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Miss Lantsman, Melissa, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
What did you make of the entirety of Mark Carney's speech?
Well, I mean, what I think that required is it required the Prime Minister to meet the moment, and boy, did he ever fail. In a speech about anti-Semitism, he was unwilling to offend the anti-Semites in this country, and that tells you everything that you need to know about whether the government takes this crisis seriously or whether Mark Carney frankly thinks that the entire Jewish community and that everybody watching who sees the scourge of anti-Semitism, I think he thinks they're stupid.
Do you want to risk offending those on air today?
I will never risk offending the anti-Semites that are a scourge in our country. But that speech, first of all, belonged as a national address on the floor of Parliament, and not in a closed room of 100 liberal-friendly donors at a synagogue. It required action from Mark Carney, and we saw none of that. Instead, we got platitudes, we got a commitment to study the studies, to study the problem, and we got a council. Another council, first of all, led by a minister who has mused about making passages of the Torah illegal, who has funded anti-Semitism in his own department. That council includes a former minister whose former organization was defunded because of their support for Hamas and Hezbollah, the perpetrators of violence around the world. Somebody who lobbied to have Hezbollah not listed as a terrorist organization in this country. What a slap in the face to the entirety of those who seek moral clarity and leadership at a time where this country needs it most.
Do you think it was by design, the venue, the choice to speak into an echo chamber instead of speaking in the House of Commons, speaking to all Canadians, speaking
I don't
direct?
even think it was an echo chamber, because I don't know a single person that left that, unless you are in Mark Carney's caucus and you were cheerleading that. I don't think there is a single person in Toronto or right across the country, in Montreal, in Vancouver, in any of the communities that feels that message met the moment. What an abject failure at a time where we needed to see leadership. It would have been better if he said nothing at all.
What would leadership look like to you right now?
Well, leadership would look like, first of all, naming the actual problem, banning the terrorists in this country that have perpetrated the violence in the streets against Jewish communities, locking up the criminals who have shot up Jewish schools, who have firebombed businesses, talking about Israel and October 7th, All of that was not mentioned yesterday. There was not a single action other than appointing the very same people in government that helped perpetrate this crisis over the last 3 years in this country.
Do you want to name it? Do you want to name it on air while we're here?
What are we naming?
I mean, you said the Prime Minister should name it. I wonder if you want to call out these groups. What are we talking about?
Absolutely, it's the radical Islamists who have functioned as lawless mobs in our street, calling out genocidal slogans against their fellow Canadians. It is the 700 or more, possibly 17,000, according to the Liberal immigration minister, of IRGC terrorists that work with no impunity in this country, raising money, organizing, threatening their own communities. It is the progressive left that have taken on the moniker to shout out anti-Israel slogans under the guise of anti-Zionism, which has turned into the most vitriolic anti-Semitism we have seen here since World War II. And the fact that the Prime Minister couldn't say any of that tells you everything you need to know about whether this government is going to do anything about this.
Would you include a portion of the Liberal caucus in that group?
Look, I've said this many, many times. I'm one of the most vocal opponents of. We had last week a Liberal MP posing for pictures with somebody wearing a T-shirt of a band of the Ayatollah, an IRGC agent number 1 who has been listed as a terrorist organization. We have countless instances of the government funding criminals like Laith Maruth under the guise of anti-racism that has called for the elimination of Jews in this country. This is a government-created problem, and it will only be solved when the government recognizes it, and they recognize it within their own caucus, their own party, and their own establishment.
Based on what you've said so far, it seems like you think things will get worse.
I think things are getting worse, and that's where the message goes to the Jewish community. Don't leave. Fight for the community that you have created. We have news in Montreal, a cardiac surgeon, the head of cardiac surgery at the Jewish General, leaving to go to the States, citing anti-Semitism as one of the issues. We have 30% of doctors saying that they can't work in these kinds of environments. Jewish students who can't walk on their on their campuses, being openly Jewish. This problem is getting worse. 6,800 noted incidents of anti-Semitic crime in this country, or anti-Semitic incidents, I should say, in this country. 70% of all hate crimes targeted to just over 1% of the population. That is a problem. It is a crisis, and it is only getting worse.
I'm happy. I was going to bring it up if you didn't bring it up. Dr. Emmanuel Moss, the chief of cardiac surgery at the Jewish General Hospital, that will be leaving and moving to the U.S. Do you have I know you said Jewish Canadians need to stay, they need to fight. But are you worried this is, and there's Gad Saad, a professor here at Concordia that's well known as well, is moving to the States, another Jewish professor here. Are you worried that despite your call to fight, that many will look somewhere else?
Look, I think many are looking somewhere else, and that's a reality. I am going to promise all of those who are listening that I am going to continue to fight here. I am going to be the very last person that ever packs my bags in this country. I love Canada, and I love what it's given to my family and the opportunities that is given to us as practicing Jewish Canadians running away from the former Soviet Union. I will absolutely fight that fight because it is worth fighting for. This community is part of the creation of this country, and we should never allow a government to get in the way of that. These guys will be gone one day, and the Jewish community will be strong again.
Ms. Lantsman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Melissa Lantsman is the deputy leader of the Conservative Party of Canada.
An iHeartRadio experience.
Jelly Roll, live in Quebec City at Festival d'été de Quebec.
Presented by Bell in collaboration with Coors Light.
You ain't nothing but a liar. You could win VIP tickets for 2 for July 19th.
With flights, hotel,
and $1,000 cash.
I'm wide awake and I'm dreaming.
Download the iHeartRadio app.
Listen to Pure Country for 10 minutes and enter to win
Jelly Roll, live.
at FEQ.
Every day you listen is another chance to win.